Hello there, welcome back to the channel. This is Nerdled Empire, and today, part of the ongoing series covering aspects of the Dominion, we are looking at the eponymous Battles of Chintalka. Note that is plural. The first and second battles for Chintalka specifically, although I would make something of a reasoned argument to say that there were actually probably at least 3 battles for Chintalka. There was the battle where the Federation and its allies took the system. Then there's the battle where the Federation attempted to retake the system, but we're forgetting the battle where the Dominion must have come in to retake it themselves in the first place. Are we saying that the Federation and the Allies were stupid enough to capture the system and not put some form of defences in place to hold it? Anyway, maybe that was only a skirmish. Before we get started in this evaluation of that battle, which is a continuation of the Dominion Tactics, which was my last episode in this series, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below as it's all helping the channel grow at this time. And with that said, let's get into this. The Battle of Chintalka, the first one, took place in the year 2374. It was a large battle fought over a significant foothold system the Federation wanted to capture going into Cardassian territory. On the one side of the battle you had the Allies, the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans, under the command of Admiral Ross and of course his attaché and second, Captain Benjamin Sisko, General Martok commanding the Klingon forces, and Senator Letant commanding the Romulan assets involved in this battle. The Dominion commanders consisted of Weyoun and Damar. It's unknown what any of the Dominion field commanders were called during this conflict, but it should be pointed out that Damar and Weyoun commanded this battle from the safety of Cardassia Prime, or at least some other nearby base, but I'm guessing it was really Cardassia. The number of forces involved were extensive. On the Federation side, there was 1 Defiant-class warship, 5 Akira-class vessels, 5 Galaxy-class, 6 Excelsior-class, 5 Miranda-class, 20 Klingon birds of prey of varying classes, 8 Vorcha-class attack cruisers, and 11 Romulan Dideritics-class warbirds. There will have been other supporting vessels, notably some Sabre-class and other ships, maybe even Peregrine-class attack fighters kept around as well, but these are the vessels that are known to have definitely participated in the conflict. On the Dominion side, there was the impressive Cardassian-built orbital weapons platforms, which we'll get to in a minute, plus 16 Jem'Hadar attack ships, totaling 5 squadrons. Due to wider war needs, the Dominion, particularly Damar, had been reassessing sort of the defences of Chintalka, needing more vessels on the front as the war was not going quite as well as the Dominion would have liked. The Cardassians came up with this idea of using remote-operated, unmanned weapons satellites scattered throughout the system. These impressive orbital systems were unmanned, computer-controlled, and equipped with plasma torpedoes, disruptors, and regenerative shielding. But, as is typical with Cardassians, they had a flaw. These weapons platforms, although powerful, and I'm betting not completely as indestructible as they were first seen, were certainly impressive, but as B'Elanna Torres would once observe, the Cardassians will build this impressive piece of technology, this incredible machine of death, but then give it an incredibly primitive firing mechanism, a bit like they did with the Dreadnought missile, although in this case they neglected to put a power system aboard these satellites, probably for efficiency of building. It's likely if they had to build a reactor aboard every satellite it would have took longer. Building one large reactor in a single location to transmit energy to the individual satellites was quicker and easier than building each satellite with its own individual reactor. The problem was, once this was identified, the Federation was able to neutralize the power source by projecting a Federation warp signature onto it and causing the satellites to fire on their own power system, which also means there wasn't much in the way of someone going, no, satellites, don't do that. Also, there's a massive letdown and failure in the Allies' intelligence network. Neither the Federation, in the form of Starfleet Intelligence Section 31, Klingon Intelligence, or the Romulan Tal Shiar, managed to notice that the Cardassians were deploying such a wide array of advanced defense systems across the Chintalka system, and they still invaded and didn't know. They knew there were light defences. 5 squadrons of Jem'Hadar attack ships was not enough to really hold the system, and the surface defences and troops which were there were also not enough. The basic strategy of the Dominion's defense of this system was fairly simple. Stall the Allies to get the weapons platforms operational, as they were only borderline at the time of the assault began, including allowing the Federation and its allies to actually take out and neutralize several of the weapons satellites before they became operational. The Jem'Hadar, as a result of this, would resort to typical Jem'Hadar suicide tactics and begin to ram particularly the Klingon forces, inflicting considerable damage at the loss of their own lives and ships, which is something, as we discussed priorly, the Jem'Hadar not really too bothered about. As long as they achieve victory, if their own life is lost, it doesn't matter. Though ultimately the system would fall to the advance of the Allies, which would then result in them deploying ground troops, which I'm assuming either the ships were carrying or they had transports waiting in the background with additional forces to deploy to the ground to take on the Jem'Hadar and Cardassians on the surface. The losses, however, were totaled at all the Jem'Hadar attack ships, the weapons satellites deployed by the Cardassians. The Allies lost 4 birds of prey, 3 Vorchak-class attack cruisers, 2 Akira-class vessels, 1 Miranda-class ship, at least 2 Excelsior-class, and at least 2 Romulan warbirds. That was the first Battle of Chintoka, which was the first foothold the Federation was able to gain into Dominion territory, although it should be pointed out that for one reason or another this wasn't as significant a win as they would have hoped, as they didn't carry on penetrating deeper. The Dominion was able to reinforce its lines in that area and basically bottle the Federation in. Although this was certainly a loss to the Dominion, it was not a war-winning defeat. Just a year later, although the war had not been going great for the Dominion, in 2375, the second Battle of Chintoka would be fought. This battle would be a little different to the first one. Of course, we missed the bit where the Dominion invades and sakes the system in the first place, but in this occasion, again, we've got the same sort of belligerence in place as before. We've got the Federation, the Klingons and the Romulans on one side, the Dominion including the Cardassians, but now plus the Breen, who were newcomers to the war, and had been turning the tide on nearly every front that they had participated in, were all arrayed against them. The commanders were Martok and this time Captain Sisko, and it's unknown if there was a Romulan commanding officer in charge of the Romulan forces. The other side was Wayun and Thoth Gore, the commander of the Breen forces, plus at least one changeling was present in the form of a female shapeshifter. This time the forces were considerably larger, knowing there was a larger, more entrenched defence to take on. The retaking of the system would consist of a total of 312 Allied ships, again at least there may have been more, in reserve or in some other capacity, transports, etc. But though this consisted of 1 Defiant class, 2 Nebula, 2 Steamrunner, 1 Sabre, 2 Excelsior, 2 Akira, 2 Miranda, 10 squadrons of Peregrine class fighters that typically consist of 6 fighters in a squadron, 5 D'Deridex class warbirds, 4 Vorchak class attack cruisers, 2 Katinga class battle cruisers, and 5 birds of prey of assorted classes again. This time the conflict would not go as according to plan, as the Breen were the variable the Federation had not accounted for. Breen technology is, quite frankly, weird. Most of the time it's biomechanical. These ships, by Breen standards, were weird because they were not biomechanical. They were, however, equipped with a very new and unusual weapon, an energy dampener. This weapon didn't completely strip a target of all of its power, but was able to disrupt the power systems of a vessel, more like an energy disruptor. It disrupted main and auxiliary power systems aboard a ship, meaning that only basic emergency systems remained operational. Gravity, life support, maybe a few other minor systems, but the vessel would not be able to maneuver, raise shields, fire weapons, use transporters or any replicators or any other advanced power-hungry technology aboard the ship. Only the bare basics, probably running off battery cells, remained operational. A single hit from this device was enough to incapacitate a Defiant-class warship, and conceivably much larger vessels. We also note that several Romulan warbirds that themselves are weird ships with unusual power systems were also incapacitated by this weapon. The Allies would lose 311 ships in this triage, although, thanks to the Changeling, barely thanks to, they would not destroy the escape pods, as they wanted them to run back to the Allies and tell them tales of what happened here with fear in their hearts. The Founder is wise. The Dominion, on the other hand, is only known to have lost perhaps 5 vessels, all of which seem to be Breen, as they seem to be the vessels at the front because they wanted to incapacitate the fleet first and then assist in the mop-up with the Jem'Hadar and the Cardassians. This was a resounding victory and possibly the largest defeat the Federation would suffer in a single engagement of the war. We know the Federation and the Allies would lose 100 ships here or 90 vessels there in the odd battle, but as for losing 311 ships in a single engagement and likely most of the personnel, that was a significant defeat. Not only that, but they lost this system, they lost their only major foothold into Dominion territory, and their other fronts were being turned around by the Breen advance. This was a moral as well as military defeat for the Allies during this conflict. However, it does demonstrate what I stated in the previous video, that the Dominion, tactically speaking, is excellent and often underestimated by its enemy. As like the Federation, it tends to rely on intelligence and tactical skill to win. But you all tell me in the comments below what you think about this. Leave a comment and a like, and see you at the end of this video. I'd just like to say a thank you to everyone for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoy making these. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving a like, share and a subscribe, and maybe checking out the other videos on the screen right now, and in the description box below there are links to my other social media accounts.